Today, we finished the first phase of Resda's development. This is the turning point which I wanted to reach for over 5 years now. And now, I think I see a path to the completion of my dream game. So I decided that I'm gonna make a bit of a different sort of video today. Overall, just a bit shorter. Cutting to the chase, Resda's programming is done. For the most part. The only thing that's still really bugging me is optimization. So, what have I done so far? Well, the first thing I did is finally finish off making the warp menu actually functional. This involved replacing the entire star rendering system with GPU particles, and also finally implementing a dynamic loading system into the menu, so you can actually look anywhere in the galaxy. I know, the most simple stuff, but I haven't really gone around to it yet, so, you know. I also then added a search function so you can find specific stars. Speaking of stars, the game is now able to generate non-main sequence stars in procedural systems. Right now, they can only generate as the primary body, so that's the star that everything else orbits around in the solar system. So far, I have white dwarfs and neutron stars and even black holes, and I'm planning to implement red giants at some point. I also added procedurally generated nebulae, to make the skies a bit more vibrant. Next, I implemented a system for specific object instances. It's a pretty bare-bones system right now, only using a name comparison and then deleting an old version if it still exists. One use of this is to prevent the same spacecraft from existing in multiple locations in the same solar system at once. However, the real magic of it occurs when the occupants of the old vehicle are teleported to the new one when it spawns in, including the player. Oddly enough, what this allows for is for you to travel the stars using another person's ship. Right now though, I haven't really implemented that for NPC spacecraft, so you can neither stow away nor book a taxi just yet. Although, to be fair, that won't be hard to implement when I get round to it. What you can do, however, is catch a flight on a rocket. Pause. Hi, future me here. I realized that this video is like way shorter than I really like, and also it kind of sucks. So for now, actually, let's just pause for a bit and take a bit of a side tangent to pad some time, because this bit of the update in particular was actually quite a bit of work to do. First, what I needed was the ability for any ship which the player is occupying by being sat down in it to change the loaded system. This needs to work the other way around too. When any spacecraft transfers to another system, any instances of it within the game are deleted. If any instances of the spacecraft exist already within a solar system, then they are replaced. If the player is occupying that deleted instance, though, the deletion will be held back for about half a second whilst the screen fades to black, making for a smooth transition. The first thing I tested was the instance handler's removing of objects when another solar system is loaded. This worked perfectly fine. Now, to test the instancing, I modified the debug menu to, rather than force replace the pre-existing spacecraft, it instead creates a new spacecraft with the same ID as the one controlled by the player, which should then cause this switch over to occur. This worked perfectly, so I next ported the system over to the larger spacecraft so I can test it there. This appeared to work, and after adding some more stuff to both the Perius and its dot, I'd say we have a nice lobby area here too. Next, after doing some kinda sketchy stuff to allow you to actually walk inside the rockets whilst they move, which should also apply to spacecraft as well, I then added the transition from the animated spacecraft to the actual physically simulated spacecraft, and then added a temporary animationless warp jump, and then made it transition back to animation to arrive at the target station. That actually took a bit of work. I had to slightly modify the way I do force loading of space. And after adding the actual warp VFX, this is looking really good. So what we effectively have here is interstellar cruise ships. And after fixing the rocket launch sequence, and adding a subway system to Cyphelia Spaceport, and allowing you to sleep in the spaceship to skip straight to the docking sequence, this system is working very well. In reality though, I have sort of realized now in hindsight that it was kinda useless to add at the moment. I think it's cool. Unpause. At the moment you can go just about anywhere in the core worlds, and soon enough you'll be able to travel even further. This system is also an important step for the future editions of the game, that primarily focusing on the storylines, since they both involve being a crew member on a large ship such as this. They will, however, be very different experiences. I have a feeling that one is going to be somewhat more linear than the other, and overall I do fear that the storylines might be a bit limited for some players. However, given how I'm implementing these systems in-game, it should be possible to experience a lot of these storylines without having to go through all of the linearity. After this, I added cargo storage to space stations and cities. I'm quite happy with how this turned out actually. I think I'm gonna implement something similar to rockets as well, so then you can bring your spacecraft with you on your travels. Only two more things now, one of which is ship paint jobs. These actually worked quite well, and it finally brings this game up to complete feature parity with the previous version. And I feel a lot more comfortable right now with how this version is compared to where I was before. With this done, I added one last thing, this time one-upping the previous version, which is that I rewrote the way my NPC spacecraft are handled. NPCs, alongside being able to spawn at the space station, can also spawn dock to a space station now, and spawn in docking, and leave the space station when their travel group state tells them to. And another addition for NPCs, I gave them voices. Overall, there's not that many yet, given that I've basically only got me to do the voice lines at the moment. But I'll eventually add more once I get around to doing that in like a year or something.
This is amazing! Yeah.
Actually, just one more thing which I kind of forgot. I also added these cool, anomalies, which you'll learn more about in one of the storylines, but, they're just scattered around the game. And also, comments are now procedurally generating as well. Which is cool. I think that adds quite a lot of life to the game, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Well, I'd say I'm happy. Other than one small thing. So this game is severely suffering from a case of badly optimized itis. This is primarily due to two reasons. One, I implemented LOD systems really poorly, especially regarding the buildings and cities and stuff. Number two is physics. Especially with NPC characters. I'm not sure what part of the game is causing this. Either just overusing tri-mesh colliders, Or perhaps it's just the way I handle the planet's surface, maybe? But whatever it is, I need to get to the bottom of it. Luckily, everywhere else in the game seems to run fine. And also, if I don't spawn in any NPCs and spaceships, I can actually handle quite a lot of them. I think they would eventually suffer the same problems as the NPCs if there were more of them though. That will need to change, especially if I want to do a more combat-heavy storyline. And so, we look towards the next phase of development. This is when I shift focus to making this project slightly more professional feeling, and just cleaning up every single issue I can find. But that is going to take some time. And that's especially considering that I've started to realize that my work-life balance over the past few months has been, well, it's been taking a bit of a toll. And I won't go into too much detail, but I think this is probably the best time for me to reach my breaking point, and well, as luck would have it, I think I might have done. And so I'll post updates when I can, but so far I haven't really thought that much about what I need to make these storylines a reality just yet. Erasda is making good progress though, and I'm excited to finally see the end of this project in sight after so many years of work. And so, I'll leave you with a bit of a taster for a trailer that I'm working on for the game. I'm going to need to re-record a decent portion of it, as I'm planning to slightly redo the way I handle reflections, just to make it look a bit more, visually appealing. But this gives a good sense of what's to come, I feel. I hope you're as excited as I am to see this project finally come to life. Thanks for watching.
Well done. The halfway mark has been attained. But it is still waiting. How much longer now? My Arresta. That's so cringe, oh my fucking god.